Okay, hello Facebook world. Hopefully my audio is doing good. Hopefully you guys are all good out there in this COVID world. Doesn't it seem like it's getting worse? We flattened the curve and we've done all this stuff, and it seems like the governors are getting worse, especially with the mask. So my guest today is Brittany Faith, and she is gonna talk about the reality of going to work in a mask and what that is like. So I'm going to pull her right up. I'm Jay Cherry, by the way, in case anybody out there didn't know that. Hi out there to Twitter and YouTube as well, because we are streaming across all those different platforms. Feel free to share this video. If you like what you see, you can, obviously you're probably following me if you're seeing this video, but you can visit us online at jcherrypresents.com, where you can support our work with a tax-deductible donation, and we'd appreciate your support. So I'm going to bring up Brittany. Hey, how are you? Thanks for coming on live with me to talk. And you're in Pennsylvania, right? Nice, nice. So we connected online. We actually met in person. I believe you were up in Hartford when I met you. I don't know if you remember connecting with me, but we met in the medical freedom movement. I thank you for your activism, for coming out to Connecticut, because it was really very helpful. We had a historic hearing, and then COVID happened. So it's just been since then really intense, lots of things happening. But the topic we want to talk about today is a hot topic, and I don't know, well, I do know that in your state you've got the mask mandate. It's heating up in there? Tell me about your experience. It's heating up here in Connecticut. It's just out of control. People are even being chased around grocery stores, being yelled at by social distance warriors, I guess that you would call them. So tell me what was going on with you.
The packet of all the new requirements and the things we're to say to our customers, and they wrote the mask into our dress codes, so there really was you know no way around it. They did allow me to wear a face shield for a week, but then the State Board of Cosmetology came out with these recommendations, and that kind of went out the window, and they forced me to wear the mask. So I kind of took the opportunity to do a little experiment, and I was checking my oxygen as I was working in the mask. And within the first 40 minutes to an hour, my oxygen went down to 92, and I started getting a headache and feeling a little lightheaded, and I had to take a break from the mask. I went outside and took it off. Um, Technically, we're not supposed to take the mask off at all while we're at work. We're not even supposed to be like in the break room at the same time, which is crazy because that's where all the color and other products are. So there was no way around getting around, having other people in there at the same time. Like, they literally wanted us to. And also from the state boards.
Wow, that's pretty intense. Um,
Yeah.
so we had a slight glitch. Let me just make sure my audio levels are there. Let me unmute you. So for a second, they couldn't hear you. They heard what you just said, and I fixed that. So just go ahead and speak real quick for me. I'm seeing it muted. Oh,
On my end, or?
okay, okay, I got it. Sorry, that
Okay.
nothing to you. You're not doing anything wrong. So I got all that. Thank you, Tara, for letting us know that. So yeah, you couldn't take a break. Like, you had to wear this thing. What is a typical shift like?
Well, see, and that's the thing. We did everything by appointment, right? So obviously everybody after 3 months needed a haircut. They needed color. They needed, their hair done. So the way that we were scheduled, we were literally being scheduled back to back. And then in between each customer, you have to sanitize everything and disinfect everything. And that took 10 minutes. So if you wanted to take a break from the mask, they wanted you to go outside to take the mask off, which between servicing customers, disinfecting, and, just doing, you know, checking them out and everything, it was almost impossible to actually get a break. So you had to go outside. They're actually recommending that we go outside to eat our lunch, which is ridiculous. Like, how are we supposed to do that? I don't know how we're supposed to, mix our color or get the perm solution, whatever it was that we had to do. We were supposed to be in the room by ourselves, which is just, obviously absurd and not going to be practical. So,
Wow, that's I know I'm having some trouble with my audio, but that's like really just it doesn't even make sense to me. Like that seems so harsh to have somebody like you're working on people in a hot salon and doing your stuff. It's so as your oxygen level is being affected by wearing this mask, and I know people will say that absolutely not. There's a video going around on Facebook where there's this nurse and he puts on like 5 masks.
oh, I've seen that. Yeah, I went for a jog or something like that.
He's in there and he's just like, I'm fine, I got 5 masks on, you can totally breathe, and that's just not true. That is absolutely fake. And it maybe for him, maybe.
It's totally fake. It has to be faked because I did it. Like, and I got real results. I, was posting it on my one post on Facebook, almost real time as I'm getting these numbers. And one of the things I felt really bad about is, while our clients sitting there processing with their color on, they're to keep their mask on, where we can go outside and we can take a break and get some fresh air, but yet if they're there for a service that's taking 2 to 4 hours, they're stuck there in that mask
Now, what's that
the
like?
entire time.
What's that like when you're doing when you're using hair dye or doing things that like there's like if you've got chemicals in the hair dye and then you're just all encompassed in all the stuff you're doing, you're not breathing well. What is that like for the client to be?
I can't even imagine it because the color is getting stuck on their mask, like around their ear loops when they're doing like a color service. The hair is, especially for the kids, the hair is getting in the mask and really irritating them. And you can hear the poor kids going trying to get the hair out of their mouth. Is just, you know, it's a sad situation and it's uncomfortable for everybody. And I was sympathizing with my customers and saying, I understand this is hard, and I don't agree with it, and um, you know just supporting them in their uncomfort. And what I was told is that that's frowned upon. We should just tell them, well, this is just what it is and we're all in this together and we'll get through this. And that I was making stylists and salons look stupid for disagreeing with what was going on. I'm like, absolutely not. I'm going to tell my customers that I'm right there with them, thinking this is, absolutely absurd and a complete obstruction of our freedoms and our rights.
Yeah, it's mind blowing too, because we in the beginning of this pandemic, that the Surgeon General, I should have put that into the show today, but I have a tweet from the Surgeon General that happened in April where he was saying emphatically, absolutely do not wear masks. They don't do anything to protect you. Save the masks for the emergency workers and whatnot. You got Tony Fauci there also on 60 Minutes talking about how the masks don't work because people are touching their faces, and I'm imagining that as folks are sitting there waiting to have the color in their hair. I don't know if they still do like perms and stuff like that. Um,
Yep.
but you say you have to sit there for a period of time. I remember getting a perm years ago, and I remember just feeling, and I had no mask on, and feeling like, sitting there and having it drying on my head, and feeling like, oh my God, I can't wait to get out of here to breathe.
Yeah, and then you have this mask that's keeping that smell and your own O2 and bacteria that you're exhaling stuck in there. So I can't imagine what that's doing to some people.
Yeah, so it is absolutely wild. So we had Jen Thomas say that Del Bigtree today had reported on the hazards of prolonged use of a mask. So,
Yeah, I was actually had an article shared with me, or not an article, but a video, and a picture uh, shared with me that showed these masks aren't supposed to be worn for more than 4 hours straight. So a typical shift is 8 hours, and we're wearing the same mask the entire shift.
so they don't
So
account for that, right? Like
no,
you're supposed to, so the way that the surgical masks work, which is pretty standard what they're giving out, a lot of employers, the blue mask, is you're
yep,
supposed to, so after every client, technically, and a dental hygienist was writing about this, after every, even sometimes she would change it multiple times with one client, because they only last for so long, they can only take so much and stop so much from happening. And so it's one mask, all
one mask all day. That's all we
all your
got. Yep,
clients, everybody.
yep.
Wow.
Well, one of the things I noticed just wearing it is, when you're with your stylist, you want to talk and you want to connect with them. That's part of the experience is, just having that connection and the talk with your stylist. And as you're trying to talk to them, the inside of your mask is getting moist because obviously there's spit and stuff coming out of your mouth as you're talking. So you're just like, oh, all this is just like festering and growing on this mask. So it kind of like distracts you from the conversation you're having. And you're like, this poor person is going through the same thing. Plus, their ear loops are getting wet from either, uh, the spray bottle or the chemicals you're putting on their head. Like, I don't understand how any of this is supposed to be sanitary. Like, people call it a face diaper, and that's literally what it is. It's just collecting all these toxins and bacteria, and then we're breathing them in on top of excess CO2. Like that's not healthy.
No, and it's really kind of strange where we're at with this too, where so much emphasis right now is being placed on complying with the mask. Like right now, it's so controversial that we're talking about this, and who knows, we might get censored on Facebook or Twitter too, YouTube, all of them, all of the major social media platforms that we're streaming on right now could censor us for talking about this. And the reality is that wearing a mask all day long, though people will say that a surgeon wears a mask for hours to do surgery. Well, it's a totally different environment to be a surgeon as opposed to being a hairstylist or someone going to get your hair done. A surgical environment, they have oxygen in the room. It's just a different,
Yeah, it's completely different setup.
it's not the same thing. You don't need um to have your face covered like that. I mean, we live in a world. So,
Yeah, and I'm a hairstylist. I'm not a surgeon.
yeah, I mean,
you know?
are you doing brain surgery? Are you breathing someone's open skull?
See, that's another thing that they started in Pennsylvania. Now we are to screen our customers. So if they look sick or seem sick or they're coughing, we're supposed to deny them service. And it's like we're not even supposed to diagnose head lice. If we see head lice on a customer, we're supposed to say, oh, it looks like you might have head lice. I can't diagnose you, but you might want to go to your family doctor and get that checked out. But now they're asking us to like evaluate each client as they come in and go through all these questions like we're a medical facility or something with these clients. It's really bizarre.
Yeah, so what is that like to have, I can't even imagine going into a situation. Normally, going into a hair salon is something people enjoy doing. It's
Yeah.
you maybe get your hair done, you talk to your stylist, you have a relationship with your clients.
Yeah.
So, are you guys required to take their temperature? I know in Connecticut, I'm pretty sure, and I had the guidelines too. I can pull them up on my phone, but they do recommend a similar thing.
That is a recommendation. Yeah.
Yeah. Now in
It's
Connecticut, they allow you, it's for the salon that they, if your employee or the owner of the salon has a medical condition, they don't have to wear the mask. But I'm seeing that that is something that people are not at all honoring. It's specifically written in our executive order that if you have a medical condition, that you are not required to wearing masks, that because of HIPAA laws, that nobody's allowed to ask you, which I find kind of interesting because someone can take your temperature, which is very personal information, and somebody can take your temperature and health screen you. But here in Connecticut, it says that you can't force anybody and you can't inquire. And I'm imagining it's pretty universal. What is it like for your state?
Um, so one of the craziest things um, that they have us doing is, like you said, the health screening, but also they have it written in the state board. They took it one first with the state board of cosmetology. What they are telling us is they understand that some people aren't going to be able to follow these recommendations or guidelines, and then that's it. So that is up to a business to interpret how to handle it. So say you're a stylist and you have COPD or one of the health conditions that they say you don't need to wear the mask, right? That you physically should not be wearing a mask. So what they're saying is if you can't adhere to these guidelines, basically they want you to either continue to collect unemployment or file for FMLA.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're not they're saying basically don't work. If you can't mask, you can't work is what they're saying in Pennsylvania.
So, so if you can't mask, you can't work.
Basically, yep.
Wow.
That was just based on their own interpretation of Wolf's orders. And we are supposed to accommodate people who have health conditions where they can't wear a mask, but I know the particular salon that I was working for, the only thing that they did was tell us we can take customers either before opening, which is at 8 a.m., or after opening at 8 p.m., which nobody did that. So, I mean, nobody even asked a customer, like, hey, do you have a health condition where you shouldn't be masking? And in fact, I think it was my second or third customer that I had my first day back, she was an elderly woman and she had asthma. And, towards the end of her haircut, she was starting to get short of breath. And I just felt so bad for her. Like I seriously felt for her. The manager wasn't around, so I told her, I was like, just take your mask down for a minute, get some fresh air. Like she's not here, she's not looking, you got to breathe. And I don't want you passing out in my chair. So, just take it down for a second. We're almost finished. Take a few minutes. I don't have anybody else coming in for another 10 minutes. Just, get yourself to where you don't feel like you're going to pass out. And it was just, I'm sure that's happening all over. Really, that's just.
Yeah, there's such an aggression about the masks that they're stopping the spread of this virus. Now, virus particles are teeny tiny. I mean, no, I'm not a microbiologist if somebody's going to ask that, but I do follow microbiologists and I can read. And I can think, as can anyone who. There are people arguing for the mask, saying that this is, if you're not doing it, then you're spreading the disease and you're part of the problem, to the point where we're watching people go to work and actually live in this mask and actually go get your hair cut in this mask and experiencing it is like night and day. People cannot breathe in them. I don't care what Facebook is saying. Facebook is with their fact checkers. It's a joke.
It is.
It's a joke, and it to me, I feel like we woke up in the twilight zone. I can't imagine. I don't even. I've been cutting my own hair. I don't even want to deal with going even into a restaurant because I can't watch waitresses running around with those masks, and the gloves gross me out. The gloves actually spread disease because on our hands, we can wash our hands. It just, the gloves actually will hold.
Yeah, unless you're constantly changing the gloves out, they're not going to help. You're still just going to collect the, germs on your gloves and transfer them with the glove versus your hand.
And then the concentration of stuff in the mask. So if you're wearing the gloves and the mask, and you've got the mask on, which you're supposed to change on a regular basis and toss it in the garbage, which is an environmental concern that would create a huge environmental problem to be tossing this mask. Everybody, I mean, the surgeons are different. There's not that many of them wearing masks all the time, but if the general population is wearing these disposable masks and they were wearing them the way they're supposed to, changing them between, I think it's like not even that long, that a period of time where they get saturated, and you got to change them, you got to dispose of them. Where do they go? Who's making the masks? Did you guys ever think about that? Who is
I shared a video of a place that was making the mask, and it's just like this dirty, sweaty place. They have the mask on the floor, and I'm like, yeah, these are what's protecting your health right now. It's just like,
zero sense at
yeah, the
all?
absurdity of it all is crazy.
So the way they're working it is, if you can't work in a mask, then you shouldn't be working. That makes no sense at all either. So what ended up happening for you with your job?
Okay, so um, I was going to work. I was writing on my mask daily, some message. That was my little, you may take some of my freedoms when I walk through the store, but I still have, my freedom of speech. So I was writing on my mask. It was opening up a conversation with some of my clients, and I was told again that I was making, the salon look stupid and stylists look stupid because we're supposed to be in this together. And, my rebuttal to that was, we should be in this together and we should fight for each other's right to breathe fresh air,
Mm-hmm.
especially since we don't have any like actual guidelines of what health conditions can exempt you from a mask. It's kind of up to the doctor's discretion. And you would think asthma would be one of the conditions that would be agreed upon, and it's not. And
That's the
but
strange one. That
that's, yeah, like what is it? If you have heart disease, COPD, a couple of other things. I know in some states there are doctors who are giving it for like PTSD, for rape survivors, and people are really criticizing, women who have been through a situation like that for not being able to wear a mask. And, there are silent diseases out there that you can't see on people, but are just as real as any other disease. And it's not really your place or your right to judge whoever's not wearing a mask. As far as you know, they have a condition where they can't wear it, but that kind of went out the window. It's like you're selfish and you're killing grandma if you're not wearing a mask.
Yeah, it's a very unfortunate scenario. I mean, I remember how upset you were as you were getting ready to go back to work and dealing with this mask and the reality of what that was going to be like for you. And I'm at home, so I don't have to be out, so I can't wear a mask. So when I am out and I'm not wearing a mask, it's definitely, not for the faint of heart sometimes, but people have been okay with me. I haven't had too many problems. Sometimes I'll carry a scarf with me because I need to go into somewhere, and I've had someone say, "Oh, you have to pull it up over your face." And I'm like, "Well, I have a medical condition that I do. I cannot breathe in that mask." I cannot imagine. I would have to lose my job to because I couldn't wear a mask, even though in our state in Connecticut, it does say that there's that exemption, and that's universal because HIPAA is a federal thing. And where you
Yeah.
have a medical condition, it's not anyone's business. I just can't believe that we've ended up here. I'm so sorry you had to go through that, because I would have been. There's a multitude of reasons why wearing a mask for me is just a no-go zone. I just cannot physically
Same.
do it, and I shouldn't have to explain myself to anyone, nor should you. But when we're talking about is, you have children, you have a family that you need to support, and your livelihood is your right to make money to support yourself is something that I cannot believe it's come down to. You either wear this mask or you can't go out and support yourself. Almost sounds like we're getting ready for something else, which is where I'm thinking this is all
Yeah.
going, because they're now pushing the fact
Yeah.
that
I mean, our governor said the vaccine. Yeah,
yeah,
that's what it's going to come down to. If you can't prove that your vaccine status, then you can't join society. And, enough of us need to stand up and let our voices be heard right now while it's just the mask issue before it's bigger, because, once they mandate the vaccine, we have little hope of, actually be able to fight against it.
mm.
It's a sad reality, but that's the reality.
Yeah, I just see that connection there, that that's what it's coming down to, that the masks are also getting people prepared for this vaccine, and adults, they're coming for us too. I mean, I've had an argument with somebody who it says, oh, they're not going to do that. I'm like, okay, I hope you're right and I'm wrong, but they're still doing it to our children, and it's quite shocking. Now in your state, you've had your governor, you guys have had some pushback with your governor. You're still dealing with a lot of the stuff that we've got, but he what? Tell me what happened with your government over there with the bill that was recently introduced, and what's going on with that. With
So it was actually a resolution, a House resolution bill. It was HR 863. So what it would do is basically reverse Governor Wolf's order, and it should, with the way the law goes, it should have ended his order basically overnight. But our governor, what people are deeming him as King Wolf,
yeah,
because yeah, he's acting like a monarchy, which is the truth. It really is. Um, so he's fighting it. He's taken it to the Supreme Court. So right now that's where we sit. We're waiting for the Supreme Court judges to make a ruling. But the worst part about it is because the way that these companies, like the one I was working for, I actually quit my job.
oh yes,
Couldn't do it anymore. Yeah. So um, the way the businesses wrote these policies in is they wrote it into the dress code and to other uh, policies with the business. They had lawyers that they hired to do this. So even if this resolution does pass and his order is overturned, we can have businesses still try to require their employees and their customers to wear masks.
yeah, and which is what we're seeing here in Connecticut is a similar thing where it's just like it's like into the dress code. It's like crazy.
Yeah,
So it's like no shirt, no shoes, no mask, no service. It's
no service. Yeah.
wow.
And that's where it goes to: no shirt, no shoes, no um, vaccine. What would it be considered? Proof of vaccination, no service. That's where it's And my salon also went cashless. That's another big thing a lot of companies are doing. We see this shortage of change and companies going cashless. Now we could accept a cash tip, but for the rest of the transactions, it was all through debit or credit. And even if they didn't have cash for a tip, they used this tipping machine, which is flawed. I've been having issues with it. Can't get it figured out, and of course nobody wanted to help me figure it out. So I have like all this money in limbo that I can't touch on this tippy card.
I've noticed that with the cash thing happening. Before I get onto that stuff, I just want to go back to the resolution because that's that's a big deal that legislators were in your state did that. Now, just to
Yeah.
clarify, is your governor a Republican or a Democrat?
He's a Democrat.
It seems to be, and look, guys, I'm not out there trying. The two party system is got its problems, believe me. But this is appearing to be coming from a democratic agenda that is from on
Yeah.
high. Okay, because
Now we did have Democrats vote in favor, and if they had not voted, it wouldn't have passed. So
so
we
yeah,
do need to give props and support to them who are going against their party lines and
that's some.
voting for freedom.
Yeah, because and I want to clarify this too. So it's not like all Democrats are bad and all Republicans are good, or all Republicans are bad and all like vice versa. It's a
Yep.
let's judge each leader, each representative by the character, not by their party. Just like we should judge each other by character, not by race or gender or anything like that. It's just a basic human
Exactly.
vote according to character, not according to party line. But that is very exciting that your state did that, that you had, it was a bipartisan support, it was able to go through with the support of Democrats to rank
Yeah.
your governor in, because this is really scary the way these governors, because we're calling our governor Lamont, King Lamont as well.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
all
King Wolf, King Lamont, King Kumo. They all think they're like running this monarchy.
yeah, so like our governor, get this, there was an article out today in one of the Connecticut papers that our governor is considering having people wear goggles.
Oh, geez, Lord.
You know,
I mean, most viruses do go into your eyes, so I mean, it does kind of make sense, but still, like, we can't live in a bubble and not expose ourselves to any pathogens and expect our immune systems to work properly because that's just the way that they were built up, you know. Um, I don't know if you've ever seen War of the Worlds,
oh,
but that's how we defeated the aliens. They couldn't deal with all the pathogens on Earth, and it killed them. So we evolved, or whatever you want to call it, were created to deal with these pathogens, and act like we can somehow outsmart nature is just absurd.
really is. And it's coming to a point where it's getting really scary and really real. Like you left your job because of this mask situation. So I want people to really think about that. That's pretty heavy duty. And what we know from the numbers, from the actual data, and this even coming from the CDC's own information, where we know that the death rate is 0.26%. And I know people are getting alarmed with the testing, but actually, more people being tested and the more people who test positive, and we don't even know about this test. There's a whole other thing I was just reading about today with this PCR with the test where it's just ramrodded through. We don't even know. They don't. There's an excellent article that was shared with me today on that was coming off of Patreon, talking about that the COVID really is not respiratory. It's like more like coming from the poop. It's a great article on that. So it's just interesting how there are different theories evolving, and that's what science is. It's looking at all these theories that are evolving and not, holding steady fast to a concept that isn't even proven. I'm sorry, there is no
Yeah,
proof.
like the whole concept of, flattening the curve, like it's going to actually save lives, that's not even proven. We've never done something like that. And in fact, there's people who are saying it could end up exposing more people to more of the vulnerable populations to it, the longer it takes for the healthy populations to actually come into contact with the virus, develop true herd immunity, and get over it. It seems like we're doing this all backwards.
Yeah,
Every step of the way.
it doesn't make sense. And we came into this pandemic with the idea that, oh, we don't want to overwhelm our hospitals. So everybody was going to quarantine. We've never quarantined healthy people before. This whole idea of mandated masking because Asian countries had success. And I've read through these studies, and there's nothing scientific about these studies. They prove nothing, but yet our
No.
media and our politicians are parading it around as though the mask, it's a factual thing, that it factually stops the spread of this virus, and that's a fact. And that's not a fact. That is
No, it's
not factual.
circumstantial. That's all it is. It's circumstantial, and that doesn't pass for court. It shouldn't pass for policy.
No. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry that unfortunately for you, you had to leave your job because it just is too much. It's really bad. Any words you want to leave us with for others out there who might be in a similar predicament that you'd like to share?
You know, I tried the standing up to it while I was at work. I got a lot of pushback. Um, I felt like I was being singled out, almost harassed to a point with everything, and it was causing me a lot of stress. And we need to stand up to it, but we also need to take our own mental health into factor.
Yeah.
So, if it's getting bad, just take that leap of faith. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to start a business as a freelance hairstylist. I'm pretty solid on a name, and that should help. It may not do too much, but I think it'll help the people who don't want to go into a salon under these circumstances. They want to have, that connection with their stylist without anything coming in between, like the masks and the shields. You said, I guess in Connecticut they have to wear a shield and a mask, which is
Yeah.
just
So you didn't
insane.
have that in you didn't have to worry about which. Yeah, the shield. These poor hairstylists are like, it's insane. I would pass it. You would see me keeled over, passed out from something like that. I felt so bad.
I'm sure we're going to see that. And we're going to see more of it. You know, we're going to see more of these people who are coming up with like other health issues because of having to wear the mask constantly day in and day out and not changing them the way they're supposed to. But the biggest thing you can do is just try to do your part. You know, don't frequent the businesses that are making you wear a mask. I understand we have to go to the doctors, right? Like we have to get dental work, we have to get our eyes checked, we have to get, you know, if you have pink eye or something else like that, you need to go, you need to get some medical attention. So there are points where you're going to have to comply, but for the most part, do what you can to not.
Mm.
A little bit of civil disobedience is probably going to go a long way. And as far as businesses go, money talks. So if you don't give them your money and you're going to be like, no, you're going to force these masks on us, we're not going to shop here. Well, that's going to be a bigger message than fighting with them when you try to go in the door. Just don't go. Don't give them your money.
Yeah. And that's what it's going to take, guys. And this is the time now where we have no choice but to be vocal and to, like, I think that's great words of advice, you know, because everybody has to balance out what they need to do. If you need to see your medical provider and that's, you know, one of the requirements, and you have to deal with that, but you can always, it's a face covering. It doesn't have to be a mask. So I can't breathe, so I have a scarf that I'll take out with me if somebody gives me a hard time. I'm like, I have a medical condition, I cannot wear that mask. I have a scarf, you know, I can't wear it over.
Yeah, I ordered. Yep, I ordered one of those mesh ones off of Etsy, like with the gems and all. Yeah,
uh,
so I'm good. so,
I could do
so
a mesh
the
one.
next time I have to go to the eye doctor, I'll be blinging.
Yeah, I hear you on that. So much for taking the time out of your day to share your experience with me. I think our stories and speaking out is the way that we're going to change this around. And we really, it is, the time is now to question all of this stuff, to keep continuously pointing out the very junk science that they're trying to push off. It's not even science. There's no
Yeah,
cohorts. They're not testing it against this or that. And we already know through what they've been looking at with influenza that, you know, studies produced by the NIH saying that the masks don't work for influenza. They don't stop viruses. Viruses are, you know, a virus is, we are surrounded by viruses. To think that wearing a mask over our face, somebody equated it to trying to keep mosquitoes out with a chain link fence. Okay, imagine
yeah,
a chain link
yep,
fence to keep yourself safe from a mosquito. It's not going to happen. So the push for this is
yeah.
surreal. It's very surreal, and it screams and stinks of another agenda, which I'm not going to get into all that now.
Sure does.
But thank you so much. We'll have to tap back in and let me know. God bless on your journey into being an
Thank you.
independent stylist. If you were here in Connecticut, I'd be reaching out to you because I can't wear a mask, and I just can't. I don't even want to go out much lately.
You never know. I travel. I go all over, so maybe I'll be in your area one day.
That would be awesome.
I miss my friends in Connecticut, so maybe I'll have to just hop up there for, you know, just to see you all again.
Great. And thank you so much, Brittany. I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today. All right.
All right,
We'll see
thanks.
you on the flip. I'll be live with Victoria Eloise tomorrow talking about Ned Lamont, following the money, Friday tomorrow at 4 p.m. Looking forward to doing that. All right. Ta-ta for now, internet land.